first one there is what is the name of the pile driving formula currently used by MnDOT? And everybody got that one right. MPF 12 is the formula that we use. I'll almost stress, used to be a way that we would manage pile driving, that's way back in the day. Anyway, MPF 12 is indeed the name of the formula. On page 20 of the plans, what is the factored design load of the north abutment pile? So let's take a look at that. So page 20 has information for the abutments. Remember, anytime we have a piling, we're going to have the charts would typically look like this, with the top little box is kind of the design data, and the bottom of the two boxes in a vertical line is what the MPF 12 or the PDA formula will use. So we're going to be, this is asking about the factored design load. And so the factored design load has little asterisks, and it's, I got to make sure I get the right, north abutment is the leftmost one. So of this page, on page 20, the left upper of the three columns, it says factored design load is 83.2 tons per pile. So that is the correct one. So some of you selected the 166.4, which would be when we are monitoring with our MPF 12 formula, that's the number we would need to get. So factored design load is what the designer is doing, and then what they need. So they say we need 83 tons per pile. There's some unknowns in our pile formula. It's not exactly perfect. We're also putting some safety factors in that, and so thus that number is higher. But literally the way the designer says is I need 83.2 tons per pile for each one. So any questions on that? So we gave you the pile hammer timing a stroke method here. So question from the pile hammer timing sheet on page 5-H of our manual. What is the stroke if the time for 10 strokes is 14 seconds? So this left column is time for 10 strokes. So we're asking if the time for 10 strokes is 14 seconds, you go down here to the 14, and then you come across to the 7.5. So as I get that, and most of you were able to get that, you can also, if you want to keep a formula in your phone or something, you can also do it with this. For our bridge, if you're using MPF 12 for the south abutment, what nominal bearing resistance must be met for production pile? So a couple things we're asking. One is you're using MPF 12 formula, so you got to know you'd be on that line instead of the PDA line. You also need to know you're on the south abutment. So remember, we have a north abutment and we have a south abutment. And so now MPF 12 south abutment, we're the lower of the two charts, so it's the middle one here, the south abutment. MPF 12 formula is 162.2. So most everybody got that one. The 124.8 is if you're using PDA. So again, make sure you're on the correct line there and you recognize what those things are. This one we got a little more variety for the 27138 if you're using PDA for the test pile, for the pier test pile. So test pile, what are we doing to the numbers that are on this sheet? Multiplying by what? Another 15%, 1.15. So we have to take the number that shows on the sheet times 1.15. For piers, we gave the info Now the test, we're not going to give you the page number. You're going to have to know where to find it. So you guys are all getting familiar with that. So we would take the PDA, the lowest box here, and multiply by 1.15 and get 148.6. So this would be the correct answer. So the 129 would be PDA, but not test power. So you have test power, just trying to make sure we're getting the capacity. That's the reason for going over 15%. So what's the term called when a pile is allowed to rest for a period of time and struck again? So it is pile redrive. So we typically wait 24 hours, but depending on what the soils are, there might be a different number that is utilized. End bearing is you drive a pile down, and we're anticipating to get something dense, rock, hard, granular, gravel layer, something. Friction pile is the term for like a CIP that goes down, it's getting friction throughout. This would actually be the type where the pile redrive is going to be perhaps able to set up a little bit more, but that's not the correct answer. The correct answer is pile redrive. The initial set is you drive it down, and what is the S number there, the set. Pile redrive, correct answer. Per 2452, 3D4, what is the lateral tolerance for position of steel CIP foundation piles in a meter footing? So to most everybody got that one. And it even told us here for ED, sorry about my voice. 3D4 is on page 457. It has to have a final position within 6 inches of plant location. So in the second line of that, so within 6 inches. What about if we have a pile bend? Is it still 6 inches? What is it? 3 inches. Very good. What's the average penetration S in inches per blow for a pile when the pile box measures 2.5 inches in the last 10? So that's simple math. If you got so many inches in 10, you just plop it up one decimal point. So it'd be 2.5 divided by 10 or 0.25. So that is the way we would do that. And typically that's what the pile buck's going to measure. It may be that they would give you every 5 blows, and I have even seen where they mark every blow, but typically it's going to be every 10. And per the spec book, which of the following are required to be completed by the contractor and or engineer and the inspector prior to piling? Fill in. Contractor submits mill test reports. Yes. We need to submit that. Engineer accepts that material based on what they have. The contractor must take a steel coupon from the pile and provide test reports. No, they don't. Now, if there's ever a question, you don't know where that pile came from, you don't know what type of pile it is, that would be where we could require them to prove to us that this pile meets what we need. And the last one, engineer inspects piling to verify quality of welds, finds no defects. So yes, so you as the inspector or engineer should be looking to make sure that. So any questions on the Mentimeter?